welcome to Feedback for the week of January 31st. We're already through the first month of 2011. Feels like it just started. Yay.
Yeah,
it
Moving.
does.
Yay.
Who knew?
Nothing's
Time.
blown me away yet.
We're joined by Matt, Kyle, Kevin Kelly, and Leah. I'm blanking on your last name just because.
Jackson.
See, Jackson.
LJ.
I'm going to show my age. I was going to call you Thompson.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Is
Nope.
that bad?
Do you even know
Jackson.
Leah Thompson? Oh, well.
Yeah,
that's-
see, exactly.
Boy, I feel old now.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Just mark it up. I am old. We've had some news the past couple of weeks.
Couple things.
Yeah, I mean, with 3DS 2 weeks ago, but now Sony. It's like,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah, Sony did reveal the PSP2, the NGP, the WTF, whatever the hell you want to call it. I think NGP means Neo Geo Pocket to me. I don't know about it.
Yep.
Maybe I'm the only one.
I was just saying on a soapbox that when I hear NGP, I'm thinking of like mid-'90s hip-hop, when everyone was part of a greater collective and you would do shout-outs to everyone else.
It does sound like part of the East Coast family.
Yeah, remember those four things? And there was that one white boy group in the Motown Philly video? And
Yes,
where was their album? But they were part of like their NGP.
Yeah, I guess so.
NGP. It also
Yeah.
sounds like gross consumer products, like one of those acronyms and everything. And
Now, if they had done that, to see the video where like Kaz could be rapping on the can, just like Michael Bivins, that would have been like, I would have bought two of them sight unseen.
no matter what the price.
But yeah,
Okay.
we are going to talk about this later on in the show because it is the biggest
Yes.
news story of the week.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say this next story. Please,
Okay.
describe it.
The Secret Service is using video games for training. Apparently, they currently use a tabletop game called Tiny Town to train. Simulates suicide bombings, biowarfare attacks, all that fun thing.
What's it called again?
Tiny Town. Moving to virtual Tiny Town, which will feature first and third person modes. So the sequelitis thing is even happening in the military.
And is it fully interactive, 3D environment?
I hope so.
And wholly immersive?
And wholly immersive photorealistic graphics. I'm
Tiny
sure.
Town.
Tiny Town.
And it's a tabletop game. Like, I want to know, like, does your agent have to roll a 20 to, take out the suicide bomber? Or
Tabletop Tiny Town.
Well, I mean, is it
Training.
I mean, it's more like Panzer Blitz or that stuff that I kept on trying to get into when I was young, and I realized.
Oh, all the hex games and pop out the perforated
I think
tabs.
the military loves acronyms and doing something. It's probably just so they can say it's was it Tabletop Tiny Town Tactical Training. Yeah, like, just the
But
more
it's still
T's
tiny.
you get.
I mean, when was the last time I saw irony in how they named anything in this government? I mean, this is the government that brought us Desert Storm.
Yeah, well,
It's shock and awe.
that's PR. It's internally. It's internally. It's tends to be a little less.
Tiny Town
bombastic.
sounds like
Yeah.
something you could play right now on Facebook. Like,
Yeah.
you guys playing Tiny Town?
Well, I keep on thinking of Toontown in Disneyland, and it just and then I'm reading like, okay, it's going to simulate bioattacks and IEDs. It's like no.
I keep thinking of Tiny Toon Adventures, like with the biowarfare attacks. It's just like, oh, little Bugs Bunny.
Except in those, they get back up and everyone moves on.
Yeah,
And
not in
it's
this
funny.
one. Yeah, not this time.
Kids, there's nothing funny in a
Not this
bioattack
time.
yet.
Well, we don't know. It depends what you're using.
Laughing
I guess.
gas, I guess. Or is that chemical warfare?
That would be chemical warfare. It also would probably be less
Biochemical.
lethal.
Okay, like a psilocybin attack, you might have some like funny aspects.
You could laugh yourself to death, possibly.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean Joker. I mean that's what
right.
he did. So, okay. We
news.
might as well start calling this news of the weird. This
So-
third one.
So next up, we have a. Okay, so there was a kid, and he got banned from Xbox Live, and then his mom came back at Microsoft, and apparently he's autistic, and so they were banning him for giving out his password and like having some offline achievements that may not have been totally kosher, and then they reduced his gamer score to 0 and put a giant cheater tag on his account. And it was just a bad scene for everyone. And so the hammer came down on Microsoft, and the mom admitted he gave the password to people, but he didn't know what he was doing, or he didn't mean any harm. So they given him a free month of Xbox Live Gold. All right, thanks for the
And
month.
a new gamer tag.
And a new gamer tag for which is
So
basically what you get anytime you buy an Xbox game.
Yeah,
So,
and it's also free to
awesome.
create as many gamer tags as you want.
Yeah,
isn't
that's-
it?
Yes, but it's almost like they gave him an eraser to take off the scarlet letter that they affixed upon his poor little head.
the cheater
Yeah,
tag.
I also like the idea that they can't like just undo that. Like, can't
Yeah.
you just like take the cheater off, put the gamer score back, and change the name of the gamer
I
tag,
mean, they
and
can
you're
do that.
done?
I mean, Blizzard seems to do remarkable things when people's accounts get hacked.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's like
Blizzard
Vegas. It's
Yeah.
like they're so on.
even back in the day when we had to transfer that character to from one account to the other because of the anger of one side versus another.
Yeah.
Blizzard's running a contest right now where you have to send them a picture of how you keep your account safe, and then they'll give you some sort of prize for the
Wait,
person.
is this Blizzard or Microsoft?
Blizzard.
But if you send a photo of how you're keeping it safe,
Yeah.
then
I
aren't you
think it's
tipping your
like-
hand to the enemy?
Well, I guess so.
I have my password
Isn't
written on this
that-
piece of paper.
Isn't that kind of like Geraldo Rivera giving troop movements there in the sand?
Exactly. Well, I guess
that's their contest.
the point of the story was the mom tried to make it a media issue by saying they banned my son because he was too good at games, which is, because of the cheats, it did make him it looked like he was better than he was. But she didn't realize he had given his password out to people online, and they had gotten onto his account and done some wonking around. And
All of this is just kind of horrible for everyone involved except for this poor kid. I mean, I guess the one thing is, we've seen other instances of some rather remarkable zealousness on the part of just kind of, what happens on Xbox Live. Not so much with cheating, but, someone trying to identify their own sexuality, which clearly if they're doing it, it's because they're
Or
comfortable
that of
with it.
others.
Or that of others. I mean, it's like there's that line. We want to keep the haters off there and the cheaters off there. But yeah, this is sad.
it's
Yeah.
And
it's sad that this happens. Yet the people who call you a douche and everything else a million times per game are free to continue doing it.
I know. It's also let's go back. A month of gold.
Yeah.
Like you get free in cereal boxes sometimes now and stuff. They're giving those free 1 month away all the time.
I mean, what is the operating budget that tight over at Microsoft right now? They can only make. I mean, it's like, well, I mean, remember that plane that landed in the Hudson? Like they only got some pittance.
yes,
To fly on that same damn airline.
$2,000 or
that.
something. Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Free drinks for life.
I mean, to quote Bob Dole or paraphrase, where's the temerity? I mean, or something. There's too much temerity. Oh,
Too much, yeah.
God.
So,
Microsoft, do something that doesn't make me go, Microsoft once in a week.
And some news out of Ubisoft and the continuing flood of collections and HD remixes. We have a Splinter Cell and a Prince of Persia HD collections coming March 22nd. Sounds like good news, but a Prince of Persia collection did come out recently in Europe, not here, which was mostly the European. It was mostly the PC versions of the Sands of Time trilogy, with all the bloom removed and a very cursory bump to what could potentially be considered HD, and mostly it looked awful. And so, hopefully, this is a little more work put into this one.
I mean, that kind of like taking the bloom off of some of those older games is like, catching Leona Helmsley out of her makeup.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
not
you-
a
you
very
don't wanna
good
see that.
idea.
But given the fact that this isn't that long after that release, I would wager
Yeah.
we're going to get that exact same.
I don't
thing.
know. It was a pretty bad response.
No,
from the community.
If they
Where
got
those
time to
games
change
released,
that.
they were for console, but it was the PC version recombined for.
Yeah, it was like PS3. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I would hope not. I think.
I mean, Sony does those up right.
Yeah.
Sony goes to great lengths on those, and so I think Sony has set the bar high enough with the Sly collection and the God of War collection that you're going. You got to step it up if you want to do this repacking thing. This is not a cheap out. This is a celebration of your past goodness.
Yeah, exactly, and it's to drum up interest in usually a forthcoming
Yep.
title.
Yep.
Yeah,
At least in the case of God of War.
After Forgotten Sands, you're gonna need it.
Yeah. Splinter Cell, though, was an odd one for me. That's not... Because the franchise is, in essence, still a viable franchise. We just saw one that came out last year. I've never really thought, I want to go back and play the original one on the Xbox. I just think that things have changed in game development since then that it would strike me as a little bit challenging.
Super.
Maybe.
Super.
Yeah.
I
backwards,
would
David.
like it so that we could go back to using Chaos Theory for Bob and Steve, but
Yeah.
that would be
that's
handy.
a good point. That's a good point.
But I don't think that's a reason to release a collection to everyone. That's
No.
We're giving you guys this tool
To be fair,
massively.
Matt can agree with this. There are many times I get frustrated with the ways certain games play because they don't work perfectly with our needs to try to capture the footage to put them on the show. It's like, no, I want save slots. Don't write over your saves.
Yeah.
It's a bitch to try to capture that stuff.
Or at least let me copy them.
Yeah. Just something like that. Here I guess this ties into the 3DS news that we got last week.
Yeah,
maybe it was a cover for something else.
Nintendo's been having some interesting things with them recently, and sales continue to slide. They announced a 46% overall drop in quarterly profits.
That rounds up to 50. Just for the kids out there. That rounds up to 50.
That's a lot. Sales adjusted downwards for the Wii and the DS, projection-wise, and are we looking at a bubble here before the DS? Basically, I mean, is the bubble popping?
I mean, look,
just in time for the 3D gimmick to save the day.
Well, but the other is we were all saying like, since we last talked, and maybe it was 2 weeks ago after they announced the 3DS, Reggie's like, oh yeah, but that Ocarina, Zelda, and Kid Icarus thing that we said was going to happen by June, it's actually going to happen after E3, which is after June, and the system's coming out on March 27th. Mm-hmm. That is not a coincidence. That is the end of their financial year.
3 days left in the quarter.
3 days to pop sales to make up for what's clearly happening here, which I think makes me even more comfortable thinking that they're bringing it to market too early because there just isn't really enough out there. I mean, just January. It's coming out in March. You tell me what your lineup is, and you make me damn excited about it.
That's right. They've been so cagey about the what game can you actually purchase with this to play at launch.
No,
we're pretty sure We're pretty sure of.
I think there's 3
Street Fighter, but that's all we seem to know.
Here's the thing. But apparently they knew enough. Like less than a week from when they made the announcement, there are 2 games that sure as weren't going to make it by June.
Yeah.
I mean, someone went, oh, hold on. I did not realize. What's going on here?
And those are the 2 games that everyone is the most excited about. Bring them out at launch so that we can spend more money for you. I mean, the only reason that I would get a 3DS at launch is to play Zelda. That's the only game I want to play because all the other ones don't sound very exciting.
I mean, Kid Icarus is the other one.
She's not a fighting gamer.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't want to play it on a handheld. But
I'll give Street Fighter a shot.
It sounds kind of cool.
I don't expect it to be.
But I don't want to wait another 2 months after when the game should be. I just don't know why it's not done yet.
And where's the obvious choice? Like Mario Kart.
Yeah.
That just strikes me as like an easy one to just take from the DS.
Yeah.
Ocarina is kind of weird in the sense it's like, really? You're not done with that?
Well,
because it was 12 years ago. And you're not adding anything, so just...
No.
You can play Ocarina on so many different consoles now. You can play it on the computer, you can play it on the GameCube, you can play it on the Wii, you can play...
Yeah, well, does it also make you wonder... Does it make you wonder, like, this is the 25th anniversary this year of Zelda. 25 years ago was the first Zelda. Yeah. What are they going to do for that? Are they just putting out Skyward Sword and this, and that's the end of it? Are they going to do another collection? Because we've certainly... I think I have every Zelda game 3 times over at this point.
How tight can you wear the elfin hat?
Pretty tight.
But the one thing I'm wondering about Ocarina is that in all of its presentations on various platforms, it never addresses that thing that I find rather challenging both when you're swimming and in certain of the dungeons. Look, those textures from the N64 can't tell one from another. You add in your 3D depth. I don't know. Maybe you're creating a new world of hurt for the player that they're trying to somehow work around.
It's all upgraded. I mean, if you look at the screenshots, it looks substantially better than the N64. I mean, it's a big difference. I mean, you can actually tell what some of the things are that you're moving around, and like the boss of the volcano cavern, like very much looks like a different, pretty much looks like the concept art they were trying to get across.
I mean, we all know why the system's coming out. It's just whether or not the general public are going to kind of like sniff out the fact that, hey, you got a great piece of tech that's kind of like a down payment on what you're going to do with it 3 months later.
Yay! Like no one cares.
Nintendogs look so good on it, but
It's Nintendo.
Well, the thing
I'm not falling for that again.
Here's the thing. The 3D effect with the Nintendogs actually feels more like they truly are imprisoned inside of your handheld. Because the way that they're pawing at it, they're like, let me out. I'm so adorable.
They're
let
so
the world
cute.
enjoy me.
I know. I put a lot of time into the first Nintendogs, but I don't feel like I need to do that again.
No,
now you got a Nintendo cat set up.
Yeah,
that's
you got
true.
a cat.
Now I have to get
I'm just
going
to use the built-in game that you just bounce balls off people's faces. That's all I'm going to play.
That's one of the few things I really like that.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't do that in real life.
No, I guess that is a good fantasy fulfillment.
Don't put your balls on people's faces.
And finally, Sony apparently is moving game saves to the cloud.
The cloud.
According to rumors, 3.60 update to the PS3 system software will include online saving, only with PlayStation Plus, of course. which of course cloud saves means that you save all your stuff online and you can sign on somewhere else or whatever and get your saves and continue your game of Killzone 3 or whatever game supports it elsewhere. I don't trust cloud saves at all after my Torchlight experience.
No, you had to
Torchwood was also a bad experience, but for a totally different reason.
My episodes of Torchwood are gone.
Torchlight.
Wait, I had episodes of Torchwood. No,
I put many hours into Torchlight, and I signed on here in the Game Lab to play it because it supported the Steam cloud saves. And I played for a while, and I stopped, and then I went back, and that night I signed on at home and pulled up my character list, and it was all the characters from the XPlay Steam account that had somehow gotten saved over my Steam cloud save and brought onto my... So I lost all my characters, and now I have all these stupid characters with ridiculous names.
Dave the Intern.
Dave the Intern, Benson's Archer, and they're all like level 4, and I'm just like, oh, it was all the stuff we used for capture, and so now now I'm waiting for the Xbox Live one because I'm not doing that again.
Does anyone have PlayStation Plus?
I forgot about it until Matt just said it.
I
forgot about it again.
I forget about it until I see my friends list on PS3, and some people have the Plus. All the Sony people I know have the Plus. I mean, the people who work for Sony and probably got it given to them
for free,
Plus,
right.
and so that's when I remember. I'm like, why does she have a Plus next to? Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's worth getting just for like cloud saving.
Well, what am I going to do that with?
Well,
there's no way to transfer your account around.
But the
right?
one advantage I can see to the cloud saving, granted, I doubt this. No, you couldn't do this, but those installs for the games take up such a chunk of the hard drive. And granted, I'm dealing with a first generation PS3, and I have twice already found myself tapping out where I can no longer save games. That I don't know if maybe that'll help with that balancing out, but yeah, I don't know where else I'm going to go.
Well, it's certainly not an option in Canada. You hit the limit cap just trying to load up your Gran Turismo game.
Yeah, I mean, the cloud, is this also... Is this cloud thing really going to happen?
I love the idea of the cloud.
Yeah.
I just think people need to make it work and
I love the idea
properly.
of unicorns that
Working
make
is
me
good.
pizza.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, but that doesn't...
There's the promise of the cloud.
They're horn. They're really good with it.
Well, the Bruce Sterling at Austin GDC 2 or 3 years ago gave the closing keynote address, and it was all about the cloud, and he was writing it as if he was a time traveler coming back from the future where the cloud is pervasive and everywhere. And the promise of the cloud, as he talked about it, was pretty amazing. However, will it get that amazing in our lifetime? I don't know.
Well, so far it just steals my work.
And rains on your parade.
I realize it's a very individual experience,
Yeah.
but it's just I don't know. I just like it to be there, and I get the advantage of the cloud, and I hope that when it works, it will work. But you need to back that up on my own hard drive,
Yeah.
Which you
too.
can't do, on Steam. You can't really.
No.
Your saves
You're going to
and
be able to play Portal through the cloud, too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, on the PS3. Yeah, we talked about that. That's kind of cool. So this is that was like the toe in the water. Now they're maybe
all
diving
cloud.
in.
And I bet you 2 years from now, I'm going to come running in here wearing an ascot going, the cloud is made of people. And then we're going to realize all that it is.
Yes, cloud is people.
All right, so that was the news. Thanks, Sony, for announcing the PSP 2, because without that, this would have been an anemic news week.
Yeah,
Very true.
that was going to be rough.
And once again, thank you to all the men and women of the United States Secret Service, part of the Treasury Department, for playing Tiny Town to keep us safe, or at least our government officials. I mean, do you think it handles the counterfeit part that the Secret Service handles in Tiny Town?
I would guess not.
Yeah. I wonder what that one's called. Tiny Room?
I don't know.
What kind of load screens
Tiny
Tiny Town
closet.
has?
I don't know. At the very least, I think when they do the video game version for the those guys, they should get Willem Dafoe to reprise his role to live and die in L.A. and do all the voice work. Just saying. All right.
Authenticity.
So no real games came out this week. Did any fake games come out this week? Now that I think about it.
No.
No. So this is
Glad he really pondered
important
that.
week.
That's good.
So we want to talk about a couple of things before we get to the big one, which is the NGP. We're rolling with the NGP, right? Yeah, see, it works that way.
It does work.
Neo Geo Pocket or the NGP. It's probably because the N is new. You know, that's what it would be in hip hop vernacular. We're the new good posse.
By the way, there goes the insane clown posse, right?
Posse
Just walked past our
Wow.
door.
They're still walking.
That's really bizarre and crazy.
I just said posse. They're a posse.
Whoa.
And Andre the Giant has a posse.
Yeah.
New giant posse?
How do magnets work?
Fucking miracles, man.
But first, Leah, you're here because we think you're great, but also because you know some stuff about Rift. And this is a new MMO, and you know MMOs like I don't know MMOs.
It's true.
Yes, it's
Exactly.
true.
And that's quite a depth of not knowing, let me tell you.
So what is Rift? Is it something new? Is it something familiar?
It's something that's very familiar.
Is it a big opening?
It's something that's familiar. And it is an opening.
A portal, perhaps.
Perhaps. No, Rift is a new MMO. It's supposed to be coming out in March. And it's really fun. It's familiar. The controls and the look of it is very familiar to every other MMO that's out right now.
Is it fantasy then?
Yes.
Okay.
And exactly. Well, DC Universe just came out.
Does it have a dragon?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing that sets it apart from a lot of other MMOs that are out right now are the actual rifts. So what you do in the rifts is you run under one, and then it's kind of a gauntlet that you have to go through of killing, you know, a stage of monsters, and then a boss will come, and then you have to kill that boss, and then once you do everything, the rift will seal, and you'll get tons of experience points. So instead of forcing you to quest and grind and go through dungeons, you can just rift farm, which is fun, and I like that.
Now, do you go to the rift, or does the rift come to you, or do you just summon a rift?
You go to the rift. And one thing that's actually kind of annoying about the game is that there's no way to get yourself to the rift faster. There's nothing like a flight point or anything like that. There's no way to quickly travel to a rift. So a lot of times they'll close before you get there.
Oh.
You're saying it needs like a rift raft?
Yeah, exactly. But it doesn't have that yet.
Well, what if there's a rift to get to the rift?
That would be great. But it's in beta right now. It still has a couple more months, so they might add something like that. But right now,
is this a full-priced MMO? Is this starting with something that's going to be competitive to WoW in terms of its pricing?
Yeah, I think it's going to be $15 a month, just like everything else. Costs $50 when it comes out. But
so they really going to try to go tangle with, you know, the untangleable,
the big guys.
Untangleable. It's
fun. It's a lot of fun, but it's really beautiful. It's a great looking game. I just feel like they have to work some things out still.
Can you like tell other players you know where a rift is going to open if they give you gold, and they give you gold, and then you just run away, and then you become a rift grifter?
Hey, the rift grifter.
I can't beat Rift Raft. I like Rift Raft. I hope they implement that in the game.
See, now I'd have a character called Rick the Rifter. He's just like, hey, look. Rift.
Ratso Rifto?
Hey, look. Yeah. Hey, look, Rift. I love his sales pitch.
A little midnight cowboy humor. I love it.
All right. So another thing, not an MMO, but also part of your comfort zone in the world of StarCraft.
Yes.
StarCraft
2 mods.
Yes.
I saw quite a few of them at BlizzCon. I still don't understand how a game that had only recently come out had already spawned that much creativity.
It's amazing.
I have just given up with ever trying to feel that I'm somehow
just like
commensurate
to,
with everyone else out there.
I just like to once again give props to the title Iron Chef.
Yes.
Which is
It's amazing.
really, that is a level of clever that you don't encounter much.
Let's start with that one. What is Iron Chef?
Okay, so Iron Chef is so you can play up to 8 people, and you have to run around the map finding ingredients to make food. And the more running around you have to do, the more points you'll get for the food. So, and by the end of the game, whoever has the most points wins. But it's shaped exactly like the Food Network show Iron Chef, and it even has the voice of the chairman.
One? Oh, the chairman.
Yeah.
The star of Double Dragon.
Like, Ale Cuisine. Like that guy. Yeah. The secret ingredient is basilisk. Like, you know, like that kind of thing. So it's funny. It's really cute. But there's also a lot of strategy involved because you can go around and get the most points things, or you can get the less points things that give you more abilities or more powers. And there's a lot of strategy involved. It's pretty fun.
Now, I mean, I know by the standards of most sets, the Iron Chef set is actually, it looks bigger. But I mean, how big a map are we really talking about?
It's not that big.
Okay.
It's pretty small. I mean, it's small small
I mean,
map.
are any of the other guys from Iron Chef? Who's that guy that everyone thinks looks like me?
Alton Brown.
Alton Brown?
No, it's only the chairman.
Oh, okay. It's only
You
the
do
chair.
look like Alton Brown.
I do? Everyone thinks I act like him, too. I've
little
never
bit.
met the guy. I've met like 3 or 4 other people from Food Network, but not this one guy that everyone says I somehow this.
We've never seen the two together.
Yeah. Here, I'll use this as my pitch.
Just saying.
I would like to be a judge on Iron Chef, whoever is out there producing that show. And I want to be on the same episode
Who
as Mr.
wouldn't?
Cranky Pants, that guy from Vogue, because I think he would hate me and it might make for good television.
Nice.
What if he
I'd
thinks
want to
you're
be
Alton
on
Brown?
Ire Chef.
Well, see, and then I could resolve the whole
Iron?
thing once and for all.
Ire.
Ire.
Iron Chef. That is,
Irish
it is
chef.
good.
Very clever.
Left to Die is the one that looks, feels, plays, smells a little bit like Left 4 Dead.
Yes, and it also does all those things for a campaign level in StarCraft 2 called Outbreak. It's the same exact level, but now it's multiplayer. And I wish that they'd make every campaign level multiplayer. That would be so much fun. But they just made this one, and it does smell, look, taste like Left 4 Dead. There's mobs in it that are similar to Left 4 Dead mobs, like the Boomer is a Baneling, so it's like pussy and disgusting. But basically all you do is, there's 2 phases. In the day phase, you go out and kill all the zombie buildings, and then at night phase, you have to defend, and that's it. So it's pretty easy. There's also a part of it called Endless Night, where just the zombies just keep on coming, and you have to see how long you can last, and that's
It's
it.
great because if you have played StarCraft, the Outbreak level is one of the few with a day-night cycle, and the zombies come out at night. It's really fun. It
Yeah,
changes
it's
up how
fun.
you play.
Yeah. But
And let's get to the third one, Starjeweled.
Starjeweled, Bejeweled.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I thought.
Starjeweled is great, but it's very strategic because you have to know StarCraft unit counters to be able to play the game. So even if you're really great at Starjeweled or Bejeweled, it doesn't really help you that much if you don't know which units to counter the ones that the opponent's sending.
So what you're saying is soccer moms need not apply unless they're
Need
really,
not apply.
really informed on their Zergs.
Yes.
Yes, which would be kind of weird. If you are out there, please identify yourself. We'll have you on the show.
And these are in beta right now. They're not out yet.
Yeah. They're still in
Officially out.
beta. And one of the 4 mods were announced at BlizzCon, these 3, and then another one called Blizzard Dota, which isn't
Yes.
out, doesn't have a beta, no one said anything or heard anything about it, and that's the one that a lot of kind of competitive people were waiting for more than these 3. So,
Maybe this is just kind of seeding the ground for the
Yes.
Dota. All right. Well, thank you so much, Leah. But let's get to the big piece of news, the one piece of news from the past week, and that is Sony's NGP Next Generation Portable. From right now going forward, I'm calling it the PSP2 until they call it something other than the PSP2.
I
I
wholly
don't
support that
See
decision.
any reason not
Yeah,
to?
I'm just, it's like, and I want to start this off. I actually was impressed in many ways with this piece of technology, but damn it, Sony. I mean, really? You are announcing something as significant as this handheld, and you don't have the wherewithal to come up with what you're going to call it?
No, just a code name.
I mean, is it, are we, what?
Someone wanted to get out front of the 3DS, and
Oh, yeah.
couldn't
Good
get
point.
people to agree on what they were going to call it yet.
I mean,
That's as simple as that.
No.
I think.
I think you're right, and I said this on my soapbox too. Is that once it was held in Tokyo, this decision strikes me as one of those decisions that I have seen sort of the Japanese arm of Sony, take in marketing, where it's just like, oh, people will put up with this, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
this you really could have made a huge splash, but I don't even know what to call it.
yeah.
Well,
PSP
what
too.
do we think they are? I mean, we think they're probably definitely going to drop the PSP name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't
I
want to
wouldn't be
associate with your
I wouldn't be
old
surprised if they just called it PlayStation.
PlayStation. PlayStation Pocket is always what I thought, but
Just
you
call it
got your Neo
PlayStation.
Geo Pocket then.
Something.
Well, I mean, I could see them potentially calling it PlayStation. I mean,
I see them trying to create it as almost an extension of the PS3 system.
Yeah,
which I believe
that's what
Jack
I thought it
Tretton
was.
said pretty
yeah.
much is how they really are looking at it.
I mean, you are looking at something where even Kojima was talking about how you could okay, here we go with the cloud thing again.
Yeah.
You could transfer the saves could be compatible between the, like, say, MGS4 on the PSP2 and MGS4 on the PS3, which means you don't have to stuff. I don't get that for a half a second, because I'm just like, if I'm gonna play a game on the PS3, I'm gonna wait until I get home to play it on the PS3 again, because I don't want to play it on a tiny screen with lesser graphics. I
Well, so
think.
it's like, it does assume that there's just these twitchy people that they don't get a fix of whatever game it is that they're playing.
Yeah, I've never been. It's like, I must
horrible
be
to happen.
playing Uncharted 2 and I must be on a train. It's just it's not going to happen for me.
But it was strange, and then there was another thing that we had discussed, that of the games they showed, the one being the game that really exemplified what that back touchscreen does, which we'll get to in a second. Uncharted, Killzone worked with me. There was more. But it was all established franchises from Sony.
They showed
Nothing
MGS4 being played
But it's
on.
like, but you need a point of distinction.
Right.
If you're trying to get in front of the 3DS, they have a point of distinction. It's called 3D without glasses.
Well, this seems to be like they've thrown everything they got into this. I mean, you've got a touchscreen, you've got a super high-res screen, you have the touchpad on the back, you have 6-axis controls, you have 2 analog sticks, and it's just like, what? How many? I mean,
Do we
on one
need all
hand,
this stuff?
tons
It's got
of
3G,
cool stuff.
it's got Bluetooth.
3G, all this stuff, great. New cartridge media, all that stuff. It's going to be good stuff. It's got very impressive specs. It does something comparable to a PS3 on that small screen. Any kind of control scheme you could think of, this thing's got it covered. It's bigger than the PSP1, so you're dealing with something that's even more screen real estate. More. But my question on that is okay, first off, who's going to put this in a pocket? No, too risky. Too many moving parts. Too breakable. And further, I'm trying to picture, and we haven't held it yet, but I'm trying to picture. Okay, so I've got my thumbs on the sticks, and I've got my fingers on the touchpad, and I'm ready to touch the screen, and I've got the aiming on this, and I've got the shooting on this. Which fingers are holding this system up at this point?
I mean, I see dropping.
Squirts out of your hand like a bar of soap.
And if I'm doing that, how am I aiming accurately in Uncharted? I'm wondering if you're going to need like a big mic stand kind of thing for it.
Which I've done many
And
times
you
with
need
the
to sit down to
iPhone.
play
You
it.
do that.
And you're at home. Hold on a second.
I'll
Well,
plug my
they used to
PS3
say
in.
that, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
You plug
think
it
was-
into your PS3.
I think it was even Kazurai who used to say it's like we don't see that, or maybe it was Sony Japan folks who would say that we don't see the PSP as really more of a big portable thing so much as something you play at home. In which case, why wouldn't I just play my PlayStation?
Right.
And
And then there was
I
that-
just think they don't have anything to distinguish it so far. And I will buy it if there is a new Uncharted game on it. If that was not just an Uncharted remake, if you're making a new Nathan Drake adventure, you got me because I'm a whore. I mean,
this is to the positive. Like with you raising your hands about the 2 analog sticks.
That was great.
The benefit of the 2 analog sticks is that you are now asking people who currently make games to not unlearn how they've been making games for the last 2 generations and figure out how to do it with 1 analog stick, so that the ability to actually get some interesting top quality stuff seems to be a lot higher. Whereas I do think one of the problems with the 3DS is that, as we've even seen with the DS, it takes a while. There's only a handful of people out there that are willing to kind of go through the investment and the R&D to figure out how to use something that's that unique.
Right.
That there might be great stuff here, but
where you've added a second analog stick, you're also adding the touchscreen and the touchpad, which is going to be much more complicated, I can only imagine, to develop for.
Well, I think what they're saying is, as opposed to say when the 6-axis first came out, and they're like, everything's going to have 6-axis in it. Now it's like, here's your array. Pick what of it you want. I mean, hopefully Matt's scenario is not realized, even though I imagine someone will do it.
early on, you're
going to
see
everything.
people trying to use everything. I think it's just like the DS, where early on everything had some kind of touch. Remember that first Castlevania game where you had to draw the magic symbols to beat a boss, and if you didn't do it in time, you had to fight him again. Oh, die. Just die. Whoever made them do that. And so on this one, I'm sure you'll see the same thing, and eventually people will settle down and just start making standard dual analog stick games, or you'll be able to have like Angry Birds style all touchscreen controls. I'm still unclear on the touchpad on the back thing. I
mean, see, that's the bit that I like, because if I am holding it, and let's assume that I don't have to do too much on the front or it's alternating, I have fingers back there I could move around. If it is for aiming, I don't know if I would play Angry Birds that way, but one of the things I found frustrating about the DS is that if the game is just using the D-pad and the buttons, fine. But if I'm using if I'm having to draw on the screen, I do have to sit down or have to at least cradle it in some way.
Yeah.
Well, I have some of those Mad Catz controllers with the alternate buttons underneath the grips, and you're supposed to be able to remap. It's not very intuitive. You really have to force yourself to learn to play that with those fingers, because you're holding it. That's what you're doing. You're not holding and then playing.
I'm just curious about the social networking features, which look really cool with the radar picture, and here's where your friends are, and here's people that have a PSP2 but you don't know them, so maybe you should go find them. And it's but I gotta wonder if this is more designed for a densely populated island nation
that doesn't have anxieties about privacy. My God, I don't want to.
That also has a terrific mass transit system,
right? Well, and also the idea of are enough people going to own a PSP2 in this country for me to actually see any more people? It's going to get to the point where there's one guy on the map. I'm like, I'm gonna go see who that is. That's you've just turned it into a stalker.
And you're
device.
knocking on his door. He's like, "How do you know I
Yeah,
have a
and then
PSP?"
it's you.
That's one of those things where it's like,
I have two of them.
So it's nice that you did that. Why? I mean, it's like it has that kind of Sony, like, hey, look at this whimsical, crazy thing that actually, if you think about it longer, is kind of disturbing. I mean, the two things they did not address, in addition to its name, when you have all that input with that second analog stick and two different touchscreens, you gotta start to wonder about that battery.
Yeah.
I mean, I know when I'm going a little bit crazy on an iPhone or an iPad.
Well, does
With the
anyone
game
play
or
their
something.
PSP 1 not plugged into the wall? Because
Does anyone play their PSP One?
well, that yes, but like I play it plugged in. I don't.
Yeah.
Unless
I
I'm
take
on a
it with me,
plane.
but my battery will not last like from here to New York. My PSP will die before I get.
Well, part of the key seems to be if you're using headphones, because if you're using the speakers on the actual system, that battery was going to die like that.
Yeah.
If you're using just headphones or mute, then you extend the battery life.
To be fair, they are using a cartridge system, which is going to put a lot
True.
less strain on that battery. I mean, there seems to be
And it's going to help the
aspect-
load time, which is one of my big
yeah.
complaints about PSP
I
1.
mean, and that's the thing. At the very least, we have seen some growth, which is actually, in the case of Sony, any growth, I think, is something to remark upon. Noticing that, hey.
But is it going to be enough, and is it going to be cheap enough to compete? That's my question, is like, how expensive is this thing going to be?
That's the other thing.
I mean, you're looking at $300 at least, probably more realistically $350. If Sony hasn't learned a damn thing, $400 maybe. And like, so, where's it going to be unless they go crazy for broke and price it equal to the 3DS? Which it seems like there's just too much high-tech hardware in that system to go $250 on it.
Also, assuming that they do holiday and it actually hits the U.S. holiday, I bet you the 3DS has already dropped its price from the March launch.
Possibly.
By the end of this year.
And further, I think it's a lot easier to, okay, you got your consumer parent or whatever going into the store. We understand that the PSP2 is a marked advantage hardware-wise over the 3DS, but the parents looking at this and wondering what's this more expensive thing got
They
over
won't
this
get
cheaper thing, and then you look at the kiosk and the less expensive thing does this 3D thing right in your face, and the other thing just looks like every other thing your kid has. So you go for the 3DS because it has a very clear gimmick, and I think that's exactly what you said. Like, show us why we want this.
Now, the one thing is, I think might work in Sony's favor is the DS has been around for a long time now.
Yeah.
And kids who were young with the DS as part of their life may have reached that point where they want that one thing that Sony still can sell, which is this mature, stylish allure of Nintendo's for kids versus what we're doing. Maybe we have seen enough growth and earning power to get $400 million potential dollars in the pocket.
But you're still going to have to throw out some software that is not just small versions of PlayStation games.
Yeah, that's the only reason I would buy. Like, when I bought my PSP, I wanted to play, Chains of Olympus and these cool PSP games I'd heard of. That was the only place I could play them. If they don't make a console-selling title for this, it's going to be a hard sell.
At launch.
Ready at launch.
And you know what? It can't just be Uncharted and Killzone.
Yeah.
Especially because Uncharted is going to be out at the end of the
something
year.
unique.
I want something.
Although earlier we're saying that Ocarina of Time is what could get us to buy
Well,
a
Kid
3DS.
Icarus. I would have to say Kid Icarus.
Kid Icarus, although, again, you're looking at something with 12 years of nostalgia backing it versus things created this generation.
Yeah.
I just think something that is like, wow, that's really neat. I want to play.
Interestingly, today, though, there was a story that the PSP2, whatever we're calling it, I guess PSP2 is what we're going to call it from here on, it will be able to play PSP games either by digital downloads or by you have to rebuy them again on I'm sure you're gonna have to rebuy them again either way. But on that cartridge format, you'll be able to get some of the originals. I know. So
Keeping my
prove
old
you have
one.
a copy and get the free one.
So just so you know, we had a question of the week from Useless Person that we just answered. So you're not useless. You're useful, and we intuited you.
We love
I
you.
want to run to just one other one, and this really isn't. I hate making fun of some of these questions, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because we get this question a lot. Vamped D77, why do game developers seem so dedicated to adding online multiplayer to every game? Aren't some games just better at being single player? I thought so, but it looks like they just want to add multiplayer to every game. I think it just ruins some games. Multiplayer cannot ruin a single player game if the single player game is good in its own right.
Agreed.
Yeah,
But can we quantitatively say that? Because what about if the dev team has to go off and work on the
then the single player
multiplayer?
wouldn't be good.
Yeah, but do we have any examples of that?
I don't know. I want to think of a game that's like could have benefited from more time spent on the single player.
I can think of that, but I can't think of a game where I instantly said like, "Well, clearly the multiplayer ruined this." It's like I don't.
But
the only thing I would maybe think of leveling that accusation at Medal of Honor from last year, but they had two separate teams working on the single multiplayer.
Where I think most developers probably
did the single player justify the price of admission alone? No, but that's not to say the single player wasn't inherent.
And the reason they want online multiplayer, is to keep you playing the game and not selling it back used. So there's less used copies out there, which means it's more likely that someone who wants to play the game has to buy it.
But on the flip side, there's tons of games that I wish had multiplayer. How come that isn't get equal? I want 50 Cent Blood on the Sand multiplayer.
Well, I mean, I think back in the game. I remember the era of like 2001, 2002, where it was just getting almost fatiguing to read reviews. Like, I wish you had multiplayer. This isn't good. It needs multiplayer. I mean, that's why I think Vamp D77. I think we've all lived through the era that kind of caused all this multiplayer.
So is he, because clearly he's about a year younger than me.
How do you know?
Vampire Hunter D 1977. That's what I'm assuming that.
Oh wow, you know how to read
nice work,
these
Sherlock
things.
Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
I look at gamer tags as just a collection of symbols.
No, they always mean something. They usually mean something stupid, but they do mean something.
And
not that
what?
his means something stupid because
and that's
I like
why
Vampire
no
Hunter
one
D.
knows my gamer tag, because it doesn't mean anything. It has no relevance to my life or the lives of others around me.
I would not agree with that entirely.
Well, we'll discuss this when the mics are off. But so this is something that we keep on hearing. I think the single player v multiplayer thing is becoming something of a red herring. I just want better games.
Yeah. Amen.
Multiplayer or single player, one way or the other.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Matt Kyle, Kevin Kelly, Leah Jackson, Matt Thompson. Huh? I didn't even have to
Can we
write
get
it down.
Leah Thompson?
Yeah, we'll get our special guest.
And what else is she doing right now?
I don't know. It's probably Back to the Future events coming up this year, right?
Yeah,
that was
Now
last
I know
year.
who
She's
she
done
is.
with
It's
those.
4 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, there must be something like that going on. But yeah,
Somewhere.
somewhere. If not, we'll just re-rig our time and make it happen. Without having to do that, we will be on next week. Remember, this is Feedback, goes up on G4TV.com every Wednesday. Once again, thank you so much to the panel. We'll be back next week, and we'll see if maybe there's a new handheld that's been announced. Because I mean, I haven't heard anything from 3DO in a long time.
Come on, Sega.
Do you play World of Warcraft or one of its 1,000 clones? Do you know what a mob or pug is? Then you'll want to make sure to check out the MMO Report. It gives you all the massively multiplayer online news you could want in a neat little package named Casey Schreiner. Check out all new episodes every Thursday over at g4tv.com/MMO. You're welcome.